Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Triple Coverage Podcast. I am Lance Nelson. To my right, Benjamin Shoop. Week 1 in the NFL is upon us. I'm excited for this game, the first game at the old Highmark Stadium, one of the first lasts of the whole season. What's up, Shoop?
Nothing much. Football is officially back tonight. It's going to be hopefully a decent game tonight, but excited. You got fantasy football starting up. You got the Bills Sunday night to kind of finish off the weekend, and it's going to be a good week and good weekend for just sitting, relaxing, watching some football. So excited to go.
Yeah, for sure. I think the players got to be chomping at the bit about now and really ramping up towards getting stoked for this one. First off, we'll just go through real quick thoughts on the injury report. You had Tyler Bass limited yesterday, did not practice today with a left hip groin, something that's been kind of lingering on for a while now. Full practice for Christian Benford after a limited yesterday. Dwayne Carter finally to the IR with his Achilles. Keon Coleman limited, just popping up this week with a groin. We didn't know that before yesterday. Elijah Moore gets a personal day today. Khalil Shakir's been full all week. And Tre'Davious White, second day in a row, not practicing. So quick thoughts on that, Ben, just wherever you want to take it for the Bills injury report.
Just good news, I guess, with Christian Benford. Fully being able to practice and then being able to look like, he's going to be good to go. Trey White, obviously still somebody you're going to be looking at to see, hey, is he going to be going this week? And then Tyler Bass is another interesting one just because, they just signed Matt Prater to the practice squad. Is he going to be somebody that's called up? Obviously has plenty of experience in the NFL when it comes to kicking. So, definitely interested to see. I know some people were wishing Ray Davis would be the kicker this weekend. I, for one, am very happy that he is not the option this weekend. I'm sure he could do great within 20, 30 yards, but once it gets to a little deeper, get a little bit interesting. So, those are the three that kind of stood out to me. Obviously, Coleman, we'll see how it's lingering with him if it ends up being something that does sit him out this week. But having it be something that it doesn't seem too serious is a good sign.
Yeah, not a big fan of obviously seeing Trey White not practicing both days and really not having much information, but it is what it is. I think, some of the press conferences may have hinted at a potential that Dorian Strong starts, but we don't know that for sure. It's something that we could potentially take from what was said. But it'll be interesting to see what happens at cornerback this week. I think the lucky part is that the Ravens' passing attack isn't necessarily the best in the league, but I think it's not anything to sneeze at either. I think they definitely have guys, and they have a quarterback that can get the job done at any time. Luckily, I think for Buffalo, he hasn't really done that in the past, but everyone's due at some point and able to do that. Liking that Shakir's full and just a little bit on Coleman, not really sure exactly where that came from. There wasn't any inkling that he was hurt before this week as far as I knew. So, we'll go from there. We'll see what the game statuses are tomorrow and have a better idea of how serious this is. If Tyler Bass maybe was just sore today from his limited participation yesterday, or if it's sort of load management, or if it really is something to be concerning, that'll all be told. The story will be told tomorrow, so to speak, once we get to the practice and the game status. So, nothing really more on injuries. I think that's pretty straight. Matt Prater, thanks, John. Matt Prater signed to the practice squad in case Bass can't go. So, doesn't really change a lot for me as far as like who the kicker is this week. I don't think I'm really expecting the game to hinge on a field goal, but it is going to be a tight game. So, extra points, anything like that are missed. But I think that they should be able to get themselves in some positions that allow the kicker to do their job. And if it hinges on a 55-yard field goal and Matt Prater has to kick it and he can't make it, then, so be it.
Yeah. I mean, Prater's been in the league for a long time too, so it's not like you're getting an unknown kicker on the practice squad there. So definitely going to be interesting to see how he is. I believe it's his 19th season in the NFL. So definitely a seasoned vet at this point. But either way, hopefully it doesn't come down to his leg. And if it does, it'd be kind of a cool story if he does end up kicking it, making it, and seeing just the reaction for him. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, with Bass, it's something that we've been following along, obviously, throughout the whole preseason training camp, what's been going on with him. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see at this point for him, because there hasn't been too much information about how serious it is. Just that he is in fact dealing with something. So we'll see as it goes from there. But always good to have a guy that has been in big situations before, has been in big time games, made big time kicks before, available if you need them. So yeah, always good to have that.
For sure. We're going to do a couple things here where we're going to predict a couple of the things that are going to happen this year in the AFC East and then in the AFC as well, and go into a little bit of a fantasy segment after that, and then kind of go into our normal sort of offense and defensive segments. And then we'll get out of here and we'll go watch some NFL football because week one is upon us here in just a few hours, just an hour or so now. So ready for kickoff, ready to have some real games start and to be played. Ben, do you want to just say a little bit about how excited you might be for the start of the season? We do have a real football game tonight, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I had mentioned how I hope it's a good game. I do think it can definitely be a high-scoring game for anybody that's taking the over, or anybody that's got fantasy players tonight. So yeah, it's going to be, I think, a high-scoring game. As good as the Eagles' defense is, I do like the Cowboys' passing game, and they do like to
Yep.
throw the ball. They have one of the best receivers in the game. They just got George Pickens. I believe Jake Ferguson's still there, which for tight end. Running game, we'll obviously see what goes on there, but Dak's finally healthy, and we'll see how that goes. And the Eagles, we're going to be looking to start out hot after their championship, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's just exciting to have it back. I know there's also a game tomorrow, which is this the first year they're doing this with a Friday on the first game of the year?
I believe so. I'm not aware of it happening before, but I could be mistaken. But I believe that, yeah, that's a new. I think it's, what is it, in Brazil or something like that. So
Yeah, it's
uh,
Kansas City, and completely blanking on who they're playing, but yeah, it's just nice to have it back finally. Like you've been waiting for those months. In the past few weeks, it's been
Chargers
preseason
their
and
team.
training camp, and it's kind of just like it gets to a point, once you're past training camp and you're into the preseason, for me personally, I'm like, I don't, once you especially get to that second, third preseason game, you're like, okay, like let's get to the regular season here. But excited, man, excited to see what highlight catches we see, who surprises us, who disappoints us, just kind of who breaks out and who, who shocks everybody. So it's always fun. There's always predictions everywhere and everything, and a lot of times there are wrong because you can't predict the NFL. It's any given Sunday. And all I know is I just hope for as minimal, the least amount of major injuries and injuries throughout this year,
Yep.
especially to those star players, just because, the star players make the league better.
Yeah. Besides the football game tonight, Jess Pagula faces Arina Sabalenka in the semifinals of the U.S. Open. So a big matchup for Jess Pagula. Obviously, we'll be rooting for her there. I got her plus 3.5 games on BetMGM tonight. So, and then also Dallas Goddard to score anytime touchdown out there. For those of you who like that, it's like plus 300 in most places. Go out there if you want. If you want to tail that, hey, I'm not responsible for losing money, but I'll give you my predictions at least. Those are the two things I like today. Pagula plus 3.5 games and Goddard anytime touchdown for the Eagles. So moving on to the AFC predictions, AFC East standing predictions. How do you think the teams are going to play out here in the AFC East? Where will they rank?
Yeah, so for me, I've been saying this pretty much since the draft in the offseason. And it really hasn't changed for me. I know, the last two spots I've gone back and forth on, but for the AFC East, I'm having the Bills win. I just would be shocked if a team takes over just because of, I know the Patriots had a very good offseason. The Jets are kind of a different look now, and the Dolphins still could potentially have a high-flying offense, but just with the stability in this locker room, the players you're bringing back. Obviously, you have Josh Allen. It's going to be hard for any of these teams to upset the Bills in this division. If there was a team to do it, is my second place team. I do have the Patriots coming in second in the AFC East. I just really, like what they've done this offseason. As much as I hate to say it, you get Vrabel, you load up on defense. I think their defense is going to be phenomenal. Drake May is going into his second season. The offensive line is still a work in progress, but it's better than what it was. You have Diggs there, who, again, as much as I hate to say it, I think he'll have a good season. He'll be the number one there. And they have a lot of weapons that I think you could shock some people. Pop Douglas is there. I've always been a fan of his. And Kyle Williams is also there as well. So I do think that they brought in Trayvon Henderson as well in the running back spot. And I think I just really like overall what they've done. So they're going to be my second team. My third team, now this is the one that might shock some people. I have the Jets. I do. I think the Jets, I don't think they'll be good by any means, but I do think it's just a change. And I'm a Justin Fields fan, I guess I'd say. I don't think he's, the greatest quarterback in the world, but I don't think he's as bad as other people think. He did pretty well last year with Pittsburgh. And I think that he can lead them to some wins. The last team that I have in the division is the Miami Dolphins. I think it's going to be a mess of a season for them. I really do. I just think that you've already kind of seen the dysfunction with them, with some of the interviews of Tua saying, oh, well, we're still got to get back on the same page. It's like, this has been the same offense for a few years now, a lot of the same weapons, and it's just dysfunctional. You have Tyreek Hill, kind of what his offseason was. I don't think Mike McDaniels has any hold on that locker room. I think that defense, if you look at their secondary, it is brutal. I know that Rasul Douglas just signed there, if I'm not mistaken, and he's, I believe, far and away their best secondary or best player in the secondary. So I have the Dolphins coming in last in this division. I think it's going to be a clean house here for them. I think Greer could be gone. I think McDaniels could be gone. And as good of a maybe coordinator Mike McDaniels is offensively, I don't think he's fit to lead a team successfully too deep in the playoffs as a head coach. So that's going to be mine. Bills, Pats, Jets, Dolphins. I think it's going to be Jets, Dolphins fighting for that last spot. But the Dolphins, I think, are going to have a very tough year. And I think their fans, as much as they, even if they do admit it, I think some of them might even want it just so they can start over, because you can't keep running back the same thing and expecting different results. So, yeah, Dolphins I have coming in last.
Yeah, I've got the Bills at the top of the division again. I think that's no surprise. And then the Patriots finishing second as well. I do like Drake May as well. They have my favorite running back from the last draft class, and Travion Henderson as well. So like what they're doing there. I like the new coaching hire, and think they're going to be competitive. I think the Dolphins finished third. I think they have enough offense to score in this league, enough to beat out the Jets. The Jets, I'm factoring in Elijah Vera Tucker getting hurt just a day or so ago, and I think that might matter more than people might think. So for that reason, I'm putting the Jets in last in the AFC East. With the AFC playoff team predictions, I'm going to go first since you just went, Ben, if you don't mind. I'm going to go with the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Texans, the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Steelers to all make the playoffs. And once you're done giving your teams, I'll go into why I think our difference is what it is.
Yeah, I had the same 4 division winners that you had: Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Texans. I did almost pick the Jags in this AFC South. I think it's just the AFC South's a mess. Texans, they don't have an offensive line. It's going to be a question about how they can hold up protection-wise, and I think the Jags had a pretty good offseason. Then I have the Patriots. I'm, as much as I hate to say it, and I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks, I really think they're going to be a good football team. Not necessarily, I don't think they're going to be the 5 seed. I just have them listed here next. But I do like the Patriots to make the playoffs this year. Vrabel, phenomenal coach. I think he can lead them there. I have the Bengals. I know their defense is rough. I just, you have Joe Burrow, you have Jamar Chase. You have Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki's coming back, Noah Fant's still there. I mean, their offense is going to be one of the best in the league, and I think that can get them into the playoffs in the AFC. The last team I have is the Broncos. The Broncos last year obviously did make the playoffs, really struggled against teams over 500 and playoff teams and good starting quarterbacks, but they still have a very, very good defense. Bo Nick's going into his second year. Sean Payton's still there. I almost did put the Steelers in there just because they always find a way to somehow be in the hunt. I thought about the Chargers as well. I just think that that injury to Rashawn Slater is really going to mess them up. I mean, they already have a pretty brutal defense, and now you lose your starting left tackle to block for Justin Herbert. So, yeah, I just left the Chargers out. So, yeah, I have Bengals, Broncos, Patriots as the wild card teams, Texans, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills as the division winners.
Yeah, I wanted to pick the Chargers as well. I didn't there. I kind of went, the more things change, the more things stay the same, and the Steelers just keep that mediocrity going and just sneak into the last wild card spot. That's really sort of what I'm thinking there, but the Patriots could do it. It certainly could happen. I just one of those things. The Steelers just always seem to sneak in, and I think that seventh wild card spot's kind of up for grabs. I really think the
That's
top six
not
are.
there yet for you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just first year things got to gel. Something's going to happen that's going to be weird that they're not going to expect. It might be a little bit tougher than we expected. Might still be good for second in the division, but not quite the seventh seed in the AFC. So um, I do like what they're doing there. Like we talked about when we put them second in the division, I just think that it's not going to be that difficult to finish second in the division here, given the state of the Jets and Patriots. So that's where I'm at with them.
That was part of the reason I put them in the playoffs is I think divisions are a lot. Like the Chargers, they have a tough division. That's why I think it's going to be tough for them to kind of squeak in here. Same with the Steelers. That's kind of why I put the Pats there. I will say a sleeper team. I don't know if you have a sleeper team. A sleeper team that I would not be shocked if they somehow make a run to the playoffs and squeak in is the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, they get Genty. They still have Jacoby Myers. They bring in Geno Smith. They bring in Pete Carroll. You still have Max Crosby on the other side. Like it's a team that if they can squeak out some games, I wouldn't be super shocked. Now, I don't think they will, but that's a team I just want to throw out there as well that I think could potentially make a run. And then I guess any of the AFC South could make it because the AFC South might be the worst division in football. I mean,
Right.
it's
My
been
sleeper would be the Colts. I think
yeah.
they have enough with Jonathan Taylor leading their offense that they could find a formula that works for them and be better than we think on defense. Kwity Paye, obviously DeForest Buckner there. You have Zaire Franklin in the middle, so Charvarius Ward now at corner with them, and I just think they probably have enough there to where they could push there, and I could see them making it over the Steelers too as the seventh team. So.
Well, AFC South, I could realistically see any of these teams winning that division, even and Titans included. I mean, it's just that type of division where if Cam Ward comes out and plays well and doesn't turn the ball over, he doesn't have to be Jaden Daniels from last year, but if he can be a solid quarterback this year that takes care of the football, I think the AFC South is just so wide open. It's really the one division that if you're an up and coming team, that's the division you'd love to be in because they're kind of every team that you look at in the AFC South has a significant weakness or something that that they have struggled with in the past or big question marks. And it's really going to be a dogfight again for who wins that division because I believe the Texans last year didn't win it by too many games. Let me take a quick look here. In the AFC South, they went 10-7. Colts went 8-9. Obviously, the Titans and Jags were very, very bad last year. But like I said, it's wide open. So AFC for that fight for the seventh seed is really, really going to be wide open. It's going to be something to watch out for. Before we move into this next question, though, unless you have anything else, I did want to bring this question up just because Bud missed it, but I know we covered it. I believe probably last week we might have covered it. Any surprises to you making the 53? Mine actually is going to change now because they brought somebody up. So mine is going to be Sam Franklin Jr. I'm just shocked that the 53rd player that they're going to choose is a special teamer. I know they love special teams, and special teams is a huge part of the game. I know I saw some people on Twitter complaining, oh, this team cares too much about special teams. I think that every team should care about special teams maybe as much as the Bills do, because it can win and lose you games. Go ask the, I believe, 2009 Chargers, if I'm not mistaken, who was first in both defense and offense and missed the playoffs because their special teams lost them that many games. But yeah, that would be my guess, my major surprise there. I don't know. I don't remember. Who did you say, Lance, last week?
I don't remember. I'll say Brandon Cotterton. I just thought he wasn't. I mean, I know that it's not a surprise to a lot of people. I'm just kind of thinking outside the box here that like it's a player that it's a one role on the team. You know, maybe kick and punt return if you want, but no coverage. And maybe they'll change that. Maybe they'll put him on a coverage unit. I'll have to see on Sunday. But just using a spot there instead of another. I thought they'd go six linebackers. They didn't. So that's or if they wanted more secondary help, I thought they could go there. And Codrington does, I guess, stay listed as a cornerback, so he's there. But I know they like him. I know that returns are important. I know that the NFL is trying to get the return game as part of it. But I almost would have liked to see you if you're going to just have a returner. I would have almost liked to see KJ Hamler get the shot at it. Because at least he could run a route on offense. He could do something other than just pure return, and he didn't. So
I
had a
do.
good conversation with him actually on Saturday at Deion Dawkins' car show. So if you haven't seen that, go out to our social medias there and check out the interview I had with him.
And check out Hard Knocks, because Lance's voice is in Hard Knocks asking David, no, not David Edwards, Connor
Connor
McGovern
McGovern,
a
yeah.
question there. So, yeah, let us know if you guys heard that at all when he did. I do also want to speak with whoever is running ESPN.com, because their depth chart for the Bills has Shaq Thompson over Matt Milano on the depth chart. So that's news to, I think, all Bills Mafia that Matt Milano would not be starting, but just something that I had noticed there. But yeah, I know we talked a little bit about fantasy football and how it's back. So that's one thing that we're going to get into next here is just for this game. I'm going to also just give another player that I like in general as like a major sleeper for anybody, that if they're looking, they have a one extra bench spot. I think he's worth a risk taken and just sitting on your bench for a week or two. But who to start in fantasy, who to avoid in fantasy, we're going to stick with just the Bills and Ravens game for this specifically. So Lance, who do you like this week in fantasy for Bills or Ravens?
Yeah, I'm going to go James Cook. I think they just paid him, and I think his role may take another step forward this year. I'm excited to see, and we'll talk more about that in our next segment on offense here. But he had 3 catches last time for not many yards, 15 yards, but he had 17 carries for 67 yards. Didn't get in the end zone at all, but I think they were feeding him, and he was able to, help that offense gain traction when needed. And it wasn't necessarily a super high scoring game, 27-25, but they kind of rode James Cook a bit. And then if you want like a sort of, next guy sort of thing, I'm going to give 2 here. It's just they absolutely fed Khalil Shakir last time. So I think you have to think about volume there. Khalil Shakir is going to get some volume for you this week in fantasy. So if you have him in a flex spot, that'd be good.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid. I just think, last matchup last year, he had seven targets, 5 receptions in the regular season. In the playoffs, he only had 2 targets, so that did obviously go down, but he was, obviously dealing with injury as well. I just think, I've been saying it all offseason, he had 90, I believe, mid-90 targets in his rookie year. Last year, he had about 73, if I'm not mistaken, in an injury-riddled season. So the targets will be there in the season. And Josh Allen missed him a lot. And we've been hearing that Kincaid, that connection has been looking pretty good throughout camp, looking pretty good during practice. So I think Kincaid could be a very good start. I ended up scooping him up in another league as my tight end. And I just think he's going to be a guy that will be able to get the job done for you if you're not looking to take a tight end early, or if you're right now looking at your team and you're like, oh, I just need to make a move for a tight end. I think Dalton Kincaid could be that guy that might not have to spend a lot to get him or trading for him or anything. So I do like Dalton Kincaid, especially this week, because I think the Bills will be looking to get the ball out and just get it to their tight end there and get Kincaid involved early. For avoid, though, I'll go first on this one because it's kind of a little bit of a funny one there because Lance picked James Cook to start. I'm going to go with James Cook to avoid this week. I think he's going to be great in fantasy the entire season. I think he'll be a great option. I just think it's going to be a close game. I think the Ravens defense is a very good defense. I think that they could hone in on that and say, we're not going to be able to stop Josh Allen really in general. It's hard to stop him. Let's at least stop the number 2 option that just got paid in the backfield there, James Cook. And, you still have Ty Johnson. You still have Ray Davis. We'll see, obviously, how the contract affects his snap percentage and how much his usage is. So I'm going to go with James Cook as my avoid this week. But I would not be shocked if he has a good week. But, he'll still probably, for, I guess, fantasy purposes, be good. I just don't think he'll be maybe what people are expecting for week 1 and what the rest of the season, what he can average throughout the rest of the season. So I'm going to say if you're in between James Cook and another player for your last flex spot, I would potentially, depending on the player, go elsewhere instead of James Cook.
I also took James Cook at the end of the second round because all the running backs I wanted, Chase Brown and those sort of guys, were gone.
They fly off the board.
And maybe should have went Travion Henderson instead. Someone could argue that for sure, but I took James Cook because I wanted the Bills player there where I thought I could get him, and that was I'm riding him. So week 1 and start early and go often here. So hopefully we get that right out of the gate. I'm going to avoid the Bills defense and special teams. I'm not saying they're going to have the week they had last season in the regular season where they got blown out, but I just think they are down a couple guys in the secondary here. Guys are maybe not 100% quite yet, and I just think that this one could be a little higher scoring than you'd like if you have a defense and special teams unit. So I'm going to avoid the Bills defense and special teams in fantasy for this game.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, even both defenses. I said the Ravens defense is very good. Unless they get turnovers, it could again be another even rough week for the Ravens defense as well. Obviously, in fantasy terms, 1 pick 6 can change everything. So 1-2 big turnovers can change a lot. But when it comes to the Ravens, it's going to be hard to get after Josh Allen for sacks. It's going to be, he's obviously one of the least sacked quarterback last year. So I guess Ravens defense is another one that I think will be another great one throughout the season. But it could be rough. It's week 1. Players are still getting into it. So we'll see. But I do also want to just throw out there one name for anybody that, like I said, if you're looking for a bench spot, you talked about running backs, how, you get to the second round. Running backs fly off the board in fantasy. They're hard to find. There's something that everybody's looking on their bench is what running back can potentially become a sleeper. And my guy, I believe, is owned in like 2% of leagues. I have him in almost every league that I have. Kyle Monagai. He is Chicago Bears rookie, drafted in the 7th round. My reasoning, Ben Johnson, former offensive coordinator of the Lions, is now in Chicago. We know how much they loved that 2-headed monster of Montgomery and Gibbs. They have Swift, but Swift isn't really a big back. He's, I believe, 5'9". He's more of a elusive, not really
Swift running back.
Yeah, he's a swift running back, some would say. But they have Roschon Johnson there, who's now coming back. Roschon last year was all right, but from what I've seen in the preseason, Monagai is a back that does not shy away from contact, kind of like David Montgomery, a guy that runs hard. And from all of the press conferences that any of the Bears offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, any of them have talked about, he's been getting a lot of praise. There's not really been much said about Roschon Johnson. So if you're really looking for one, I think he could end up being the next like David Montgomery type of back where maybe he just gets touchdowns, not a lot of yards, but maybe he ends up getting 15 attempts a game because that's how they were in Detroit where they like to do the 2 running backs there. So Kyle Monagai, if you need a spot, go get him. take the shot, and potentially it could be a league winner, could be just another guy that, hey, if you need him for a week, he could be a solid start. So that's my number one fantasy sleeper this year.
Right on. Nice bit there. If you haven't done so yet, please like and share this episode on Facebook, like and share on YouTube, like it and share it, and on X, repost it and like it there. Go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel for Built in Buffalo if you could, and get in on the comments here with other Bills fans. You got Uncle Bud in the comments, so always good to talk to him there and others. There's a decent chat on Facebook too. So if you prefer Facebook, go over there, check that out, and get in the chat with John and Sandra and all those folks who are usually with us here. Williams there now this week, so appreciate that. We are sponsored by Monster Energy, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo, and 716 Barbershop in Lancaster/Depew area on Broadway. Go over and check out the Cut app or the links on 716 page to book a cut with Dennis and Matt over there at 716. Good guys. They just did a nice thing for back to school. They cut kids for free to get them ready for back to school, and I thought that was a really nice thing. I shared that on our page too. If you check out Built in Buffalo Facebook page there, you'll see that. So let's roll into the week though. Week one, we have the Bill. We're going to start with the Bills offense. Ben, if you want to go through this and let us know what you think about your top storyline for the Bills offense here.
Yeah, last year, obviously, the storyline was, what is this offense going to look like without Stephon Diggs? With what is it going to look like with all these different weapons and everything? So I do think, when it comes to everybody eats, that will stay similar. But the one guy that I'm looking for in that passing game is Dalton Kincaid. I mentioned him as a start this week, but you've heard the hype. Can he step up? Can he become a tight end in the league that you say, man, that, it was worth a late first round pick? He was obviously hyped up coming out of college, and his rookie year had a very solid rookie year for a rookie tight end. Last year, like I said, very injury riddled. It's going to be a tough matchup. The Ravens are probably going to move guys around on him. You might see a little Kyle Hamilton. You might see a few of their linebackers coming up on him too. So it's going to be tough matchup for him. Can he step up? Can he become a reliable target for Josh Allen? I think he definitely can if Josh Allen can hit him a little bit more than he did last year. But Dalton Kincaid, will he be able to step up? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm rooting for this guy. Obviously, as a Bills fan, you're going to root for them all. But I just think Kincaid, in general, is someone who maybe had really lofty goals or lofty expectations from some coming out of the draft, being drafted in the first round, and as a pass catcher, not necessarily a tight end, but this matchup nightmare, so to speak, for defenses. And we haven't really seen him necessarily take over games that much. So, didn't have too many big games last year that really stood out to us. So I think that we expected him to lead the team in targets last year, and it just didn't happen. Now injuries played a part in that too, but I hope that he can get towards the, at least second place in targets this year. I think Khalil Shakir should be far and away the team leader in targets, but we'll see how close Kincaid can get to that, and if Kincaid can be a 750 to 800 yard receiver here for this offense. It would be nice. I think that the offense will again approach breaking records if he can achieve that level, if they have that weapon at tight end, and then they have I'm expecting Shakir and Kincaid to both be pretty good, if not very good, for this offense. And then we'll see what they do in the backfield. We're going to talk about next. But Dalton Kincaid, I expect a bigger year out of him, that year 3 leap that everyone talks about out of a tight end. I certainly would project that, and it starts now. It starts week 1. How much can he prove right out of the gate?
Yeah, and I don't believe he is starting the season with any injuries. As far as we're concerned, he's been healthy. And you mentioned the targets when it comes to he could come close to the Shakir. I really think there is a realistic chance that he does end this team as the number 1 targeted weapon. Right? It's, Shakir is there, but the receivers, they like to kind of do a lot of different things with. If they end up using Kincaid like they have been the past few years when he's healthy, I think there's a good possibility target-wise, maybe not receptions, because we know Khalil Shakir, even if he gets 10 less targets, could easily finish 10 more receptions just because he catches everything. But I think Kincaid, realistically, yes, he could end up as the number one targeted guy. I think he should end up as the number two, unless Keon Coleman shows out or Josh Palmer shows out. But I think he should end up as the number two at the minimum.
Yeah, I think Palmer would be challenging him for that, and I'm expecting some good things out of Palmer as well. Um, and my storyline, if you're good on that, is just what we kind of talked about in the fantasy segment, but I want to elaborate a little bit, is the uses of James Cook because we have, uh, a guy who's paid now. There was a big drama in the offseason coming in. What is their plan? If they're going to sign him to that deal, you got to think that the usage is going to change a little bit. Do you think the Bills changed the usage? It was 47% of snaps last year. But here's the thing. In the first game, the Bills played the Ravens. He got 10 touches. In the second game, in the playoffs, James Cook got 20 touches, and the game was much different. What do you think about the usage of James Cook? How much does it change because of the contract, or does it at all? Is it more of the same, and the offense keeps marching to the same sort of beat?
It's tough because it's hard to say yes they have to do it because the offense worked last year. It was
Mhm.
a phenomenal offense. The
But it
contract
also
tells
worked
you,
because he had some, even though he was only limited touches, I think he also had um, some success there, and that's what when he went, that team, the offense was much better when James Cook was very good.
yeah, and I do think part of it also could allude to he was fresh. A lot of some of these running backs ran into the ground. I believe Saquon had about 430 touches last year or something in receiving. Maybe I'm way off on that, but a crazy amount of touches last year. Where James Cook, it might be a little bit more fresh because you are able to say, hey, we can take you off the field and get you some breathers, whatever. I think the contract tells you should increase his usage, but it's not something that I think, at least this year, you could say, yeah, for sure it's going to go up. I think it will a little bit. I don't think it will be considerable. Like, I don't think he'll be in that realm of amount of touches as Saquon Barkley or Bijan Robinson or even Alvin Kamara over in New Orleans. So I think it will go up, but I do think they really do like, obviously, they like Ty Johnson, they like Ray Davis. I think they want to keep James Cook fresh, at least early in the season. I'm not sure if it will go up towards the playoffs. I think, like you said, like it could definitely change in the playoffs because you get down to crunch time, you're going to give it to the guys that you paid and the guys that you trust. And James Cook, obviously, by paying him, will be a guy that you're saying, hey, we trust him. So how much it will change, that I'm unsure. I do think it will, though, go up a little bit. I'm not sure if it will go up. Maybe his snap percentage will go up like 10%. Maybe not a
Right.
major jump, but yeah, we'll see, obviously.
I think so too. But what I think that sort of gets us into is now where does that 10% come? So is it 10% more on running plays, 10% more, where is he going to be involved? And where I think it's really going to take place is in the passing game. I think they will try to use him, and even if it's as a decoy or if it's as a real weapon, I think James Cook is really going to notice. You're going to really notice the difference in James Cook's usage and production this year in the passing game. And that's where I'm not saying it always has to be third downs necessarily, but I think, maybe some more we're so, lamenting so much on the first and second down runs the whole game. Maybe they mix that up and throw some of those as passes. I expect it to be, 54 to 58% snap share for James Cook, just that little bit of uptick, 7 to 10%. And then also, do you have some more targets in there for him in the passing game with the departure of some other folks that were here last year? I think Palmer, we talked about how Palmer, Samuel, and Elijah Moore sort of get integrated. You saw Elijah Moore miss with some personal stuff. If they don't have that sort of thing, they can use James Cook even as sort of a slot motion, sort of jet sweep type of player, like they would Elijah Moore at times as well. So there's a lot of different ways they can get James Cook involved, and I think that's really why I like him in fantasy this week, is especially because when you were able to use him for 20 target or 20 touches in the playoffs, this team had success. And when they were getting blown out, he had 10 touches, and for a good reason. There's no reason to send him out there and get him battered, but he also, they had to throw the ball more, and he just wasn't there in the passing game. I'd like to see that for the money that he's getting. I'd like to see at least give him a couple more opportunities out there in the passing game.
I do think as well, it might not be, it could be passing game. It could be, they use him more there, but I think it also could come out down to they just use him more in crunch time in the fourth quarter. You might see a little less Ty Johnson in the passing game in the fourth. Maybe it's more of those type of situations instead of, all throughout the game. It's more they're getting him more involved. It might just be in the fourth quarter. He's the go-to guy. He's the guy they're going to ride with Josh Allen. It's going to be those two as the top two weapons that you're going to want to utilize in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I think, you might not see, like I said, a major uptick in snaps, but, it might be when he's on the field. They want to get him involved as much as possible. Like you said, get it to him out of the backfield quick or whatever it is. Just get the ball in his hands, let him go to work. But, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this running back room because it's kind of like the receiving room of like you trust everybody in there. But it's like who you paid Shakir, he's got to be the guy. You paid Cook, he's got to be a guy. Like, what are they gonna do? How are they gonna utilize all these guys? They brought back Ty Johnson. Like, it's just it's how are they going to do this instead of or how much are they going to do this instead of how are they going to do this? You know what they're going to do, what their game plan is, but how are they going to utilize each person in that game plan? How much and how successful is each person going to be?
Yeah, off the cuff question, just before we get on to defense here, who's your X factor for the Bills offense in this game? Who makes the difference the most that we're not necessarily talking about yet?
I think it's going to be Deion Dawkins and the offensive. Like, I think you're going to have to. I know Allen's good at eluding pressure, but if you turn the ball over and you're not blocking his blind side, obviously Allen in the past has had problems with fumbles. You can't just even one time you can't let him get blindside hit and lose the football because that could change the entire game. We saw it in the playoffs, right? There was major turnovers by the Ravens against the Bills, and that cost them the game, right? So it's going to end up being, I think you have to protect him, and it's going to start with the number one guy that you look at in pass protection on your offensive line, and that's the left tackle. They have to be the guy to set the tone in the pass game, and I think Deion Dawkins will be the X factor on this offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Josh Palmer. I think it's going to be really fun to watch Josh all year and how he integrates in this offense. I think you have 1 to 2 big plays from him that really sort of turn the thing in the favor of the Bills.
Yeah, and we'll see how this offense does, and it's going to be definitely a huge story after the game if they put up another bad game in the regular season against the Ravens like they did last year. But we'll see.
Sort of that Chiefs vibe, though, right? I'm sorry to cut you off there, but it's sort of like, man, the Ravens can get us in the regular season as much as they want, can't do it in the postseason. We can get the Chiefs as much as we want in the regular season, can't do it in the postseason. So, I'm not too worried about really how that shakes out, but we'll talk about that when we get into our game prediction in just a few minutes here.
Yep. Honestly, only bad part about losing to the Ravens in the regular season is hearing Ravens fans talk about it, but that's about it.
Flock. Yep.
It's really about it.
And Scott's not here with us tonight, but he actually lives in Baltimore, so we'll feel bad for him more than anything, having to be down in enemy territory and having to hear it. So.
Yeah. But the Bills' defense is also
just had our service broken by Sabalenka, and then broke Sabalenka's serve back, and is now trying to go and tie the first set at 4 games. So sorry to interrupt that again, but just a cool update on Jess Pegula. So.
Oh yeah, well we got to do it. She's Bills Mafia. Got to give updates on any Bills Mafia in sports as well. But the defense you talked about a little bit earlier as well about to avoid them in fantasy. But we'll get into really what we're looking at for the defense. They got a lot of guys they got to stop. I mean, this Ravens offense is, like we said, not a joke. They got obviously an MVP caliber quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry, who is one of the greatest running backs to ever do it. Mark Andrews, even though people like to joke with Mark Andrews, is still a good tight end in this league. Zay Flowers is a guy that can get open. He can make plays. Rashad Bateman's there. Still, I mean, I know DeAndre Hopkins isn't the DeAndre Hopkins of old, but it's another guy that you can say, hey, he's obviously had a long career. He knows what he's doing. So a lot of guys you got to stop. A lot of them. What is the number one thing that you're looking at with this Bills as storyline going into this game against the Ravens?
Yeah, it's the new defensive line, really. The new players along the defensive line trying to disrupt passing and rushing lanes because obviously that was an issue last year where the rushing lanes were pretty wide open and Rasul Douglas and Damar Hamlin wanted nothing to do with Derrick Henry when it came to meeting him in the hole, and we had nobody else to stop him. So you have Greg Rousseau, you have Joey Bosa now on either edge, good edge setters there. How will Deion Walker and how will TJ Sanders help the middle? We know Ed Oliver is going to be good. Ed Oliver in the playoff game had 3 QB pressures. I expect him to come out of the start of this season, with his hair on fire and just, playing like the Ed Oliver that we know and really disrupting some of the game. But we are going to need it from guys like Daquan. Obviously, there's only going to be 4 D tackles in the rotation here. So TJ Sanders and Deion Walker definitely are going to be part of the rotation and definitely are going to need to make some impacts. And I'm looking for how they can do that as rookies because I do believe Ed Oliver is going to make his impact on it, but I don't think he can do it for the full game if he's not getting some breaths there and some plays off. So the defensive ends, obviously Epinesa, we'll see if he can be a game changer in this game. He's been a game changer in a few games, not every one that he's played, but we'll see if he kind of brings it week one when the spotlight's bright and see how he can help kind of give some depth to that defensive line.
Yeah. I mean, the defensive line, I do want to make a PSA with the defensive line as well to anybody listening. This defensive line that you will see this week, week 2, week 3, week 4, it will not be the same defensive line that you see in week 16, 17, 18 going into the playoffs.
For sure.
You have rookies that are going to make mistakes. You have 2 guys suspended. You have Carter, who obviously is not going to play this year, but you have another guy that's out. It's going to have its moments. I mean, who knows? I could be completely wrong. It could be come out and be an unbelievable defensive line. All the rookies could look like they're veterans, and Daquan Jones could be back to form, and everybody could be playing up to their contract that got paid. But it's going to be a defensive line that, if they struggle against the Ravens, and it's one of the big reasons they lose, don't hit the panic button. Let's remember, this is not going to be close to the same defensive line you will see later in the season because of reps with these young guys, suspensions of guys coming back. It's week 1 in general as well. I mean, how many times was the sky falling for the Patriots and Tom Brady's last few years in September? Everybody, they're not the same. It's September, right? Obviously, you want to say, yeah, if they make good plays, you want to reward them and then say, yeah, they're going to be good, but can't automatically do the opposite as well when, if they're struggling, say, oh, they're going to be bad this year. It might take them a little bit to kind of gel, like I said. So, this
That's the beautiful
line,
thing I think about this game for me. And I'm so excited for Michael Hoyt to get here in the regular season that I really don't mind. Landon Jackson can get his reps early, sort of get some work early. He's going to take some lumps. I think Sanders and Walker are still going to take some lumps as well as they played in the preseason, as good as they've looked so far. I still think they're going to take some lumps. So Michael Hoyt coming back with Larry Ogunjobi now that now that Dwayne Carter is down for the season. I think Ogunjobi and Hoyt coming back are going to be huge, and it also is going to be huge in the postseason when teams like the Ravens haven't seen the Bills at their full potential. They'll be able to watch film and stuff, but they're not going to be able to see how it feels on the field. So I think that's a little bit of an advantage, sort of, if you can say that. It's a little bit of an edge for the Bills going into the postseason. And Jess Pagula just broke another serve of Sabalenka, so she's up 5-4 in the first set. So rolling that +3.5 looks pretty good right now.
There we go. Let's go. I do also think with this defensive line, the number one thing you want to see is flashes. You want to see, even if Sanders and Walker struggle, or you want to see those flashes of, hey, if they have 1 or 2 plays this game where you're like, wow, that's what you want to see with this defensive line. It's, obviously with guys like Bosa or Rousseau or Ed Oliver, yeah, you want to see the consistency. You want to see them consistently playing well. But for the young guys especially, even Javon Solomon, Landon Jackson, just show signs, show that ability to say, hey, by the end of the season, they could end up being the difference maker in the playoffs. So this defensive line is going to have their work cut out for them. They're going to have to keep Lamar Jackson contained. They're going to have to slow Derrick Henry down. They're even going to have to, put some pressure on him, condense the pocket. Don't let him get out of the pocket. It's like Josh Allen. You don't want to get him out of the pocket because then he's going to make you look silly. So they got their work cut out for them. But even if they do struggle, that's the number one thing that I did want to just put out there is do not panic. It is going to be a developing process with this defensive line. But I do see as well, I'll go on to mine now, though, unless you got anything on the defensive line at all.
No, I'm good, man.
Yeah, so Cassandra actually did bring up a player that I want to kind of talk about in just even his position group in general as well. Cole Bishop has to be good in this game for them to have a chance. I do somewhat agree with that. I do think he doesn't have to be great. I think good is the perfect word for that. So I think Cassandra, it's a good point there. He has to be good. He doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to be unstoppable. He has to be good. He has to do his job. He has to not give up multiple big plays, or even one big play is obviously bad, but he has to, even if he does, come back from it, right? So for me is how will Bishop in the secondary fare against this team? Not a pass-first offense, but Lamar has shown over the years that he has developed his passing game. He can be a passer in the NFL. Zay Flowers is a very good weapon. Mark Andrews has been Pro Bowler and a very good tight end in this league for a while. How is this passing game going to fare against Bishop, Benford? Obviously, the secondary, we don't know who's going to be cornerback 2 yet, but I mean, Jamarcus Ingram, or is it going to be Dorian Strong? So it's kind of like the defensive line to me as well, is like there's a lot of unanswered questions. You have guys that who are going to do their job. Teron Johnson is going to be Teron Johnson. Benford hopefully is going to be Benford. Taylor Rapp's going to be Taylor Rapp. But Cole Bishop, Dorian Strong, Jamarcus Ingram, even Cam Lewis, if you see him, what is this defense secondary going to look like? Again, you're not going up against Joe Burrow on the Bengals passing offense, but you're still going against players that have been able to do it and been able to prove it time and time again that they are capable of putting up big numbers in the passing game. So, Lance, what do you think about the secondary?
Did you guys listen to Jordan Poyer or what? On Saturday, I got the opportunity to interview Jordan Poyer. He said that Cole Bishop's going to be just fine. We talked a little bit off the camera as well, but I asked him about it during the interview. And Cole Bishop's working very hard. He's going to be an impact player for this defense. And I know we haven't seen a ton of it yet from him, but I think that's there. I think that with time, and we may not see it week 1, but I think that he's going to be ready. They just had 2 more weeks now of practice since we last saw them to really hone in on what they really need to do for this game. We haven't seen Cole Bishop with any game planning or anything under his belt this season. So last season, I think he played fine in the AFC Championship, and I think that you have to just kind of believe that their coaches are really good at the safety position, especially. So I think that Cole Bishop's going to be 100% ready for this. Will he make a mistake or two? Probably. But I think overall you're going to see, a good game from Cole. I think he's going to come up and not make the same mistake. If Derrick Henry's coming through the hole, he's not going to do what Damar Hamlin did and kind of skirt him. He's going to go make that hit and at least slow Henry down, hopefully. So I think that's where you kind of get your benefits with Cole Bishop, is he is sort of, younger and maybe still willing to stick his neck in there, literally, in those plays. And overall, the secondary without Trey White maybe is what I would suggest, and maybe Dorian Strong there. Because of the Ravens' passing attack just not being the focal point of their offense, can they do it when they need to? Adequately, but they're not a prolific passing team by any means, and the main focus is going to be stopping them on the ground. And if they can do that, I think the Bills will have enough success to win.
Yeah. Sorry, I also just got an alert on my phone, which is fun for fantasy. You ready for this, Lance?
Did it say Jessica Pegula won the first set against Arena Sabalenka? What a great first set from Jessie Pegula.
The guy that fell to me in our Built in Buffalo league, by the way, Christian McCaffrey is now questionable with a calf injury.
Amazing. I also took him in my other league, so I think I had the eighth pick in my other league, and I got him at that spot too.
I mean, it's we were hearing all off season that he was
I don't know.
reportedly healthy.
Cynthia Freeland told me not to worry about the injuries this year, that he was going to come back and that his off-season preparation was so good that he was going to just be ready to rock and roll and get rid of the injury bug. So, I listened to Cynthia, and here we are. Hopefully, it's not more than a scare. Maybe
Yeah,
some
we'll see.
rest.
But sorry, I just got the alert there, and I had to bring it up. Um,
All right,
but
guys,
yeah,
post some game predictions in the comments. We're going to get to that in a second. So post your game predictions there, and we're going to finish up with the secondary here and jump into that.
yeah. When it comes to secondary, though, yeah, it's gonna be tough. We're gonna see what happens with them because especially that's the Bills' kind of game plan a lot of times against Lamar is force him to throw. Like he'll still get his on the ground, but if you can minimize it and not let him and Henry run the game, when they do that and they shut down the run game as best they can and they force him to throw the ball 30 plus times, they usually end up in a good spot there. So yeah, they got to be able to shut him down in the passing game and be able to slow Lamar and Zay Flowers down. So we will see though. I got nothing else though when it comes to secondary. Do you got anything else, Lance?
No, again, I just want to reiterate that this game does lend itself for the Bills being able to learn a little bit in game action in the secondary. I don't think it's going to be a prolific passing offense in Baltimore. I don't think that they're going to try to do that. I don't think they're going to try to be a prolific passing team either. They're going to do it when they need to, but they're going to also lean on their ground game with Lamar and Derrick Henry, and that's where I want to see the Bills excel. I want to see them being able to, fit holes, staying in their lanes, making sure they don't give up the big play. If they can not get, the biggest thing that blew that game open, and they couldn't really stop anything the whole game, but really that Derrick Henry, 80-yarder right out of the gate. I mean, I think that sets a tone, and it really is tough to kind of come back from that. So if they can limit that sort of thing early on, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you can go right into your score prediction if you'd like. With
Absolutely. I got 34-30. Buffalo wins by 4 in this game. Home opener. I think the Bills can score. The Ravens are going to score. I think it's going to be sort of a back and forth game. Expect the over to hit. So I'm going 34-30. Buffalo wins in first week of the season here at the old Highmark.
I'm gonna go with 34-28. I just think it'll be last possession. Bills or Ravens are going to have to either go down and they're going to get stopped, or I think the Bills are going to have to go down and Allen's going to succeed. Obviously, it could go either way. I think it will be a close game. I don't think either team will blow them out. 35-17. Now that would definitely be a statement for week one. I mean, who knows though? It's NFL. Like we said, any given Sunday, you could get blown out. It's week one. People are still getting into it. We'll see. But I'm going to go with 34-28 Bills.
Bills win. All right, great. Ben and I both on the Bills on the score prediction or on the season record prediction I did with Dave Myers and Anthony Romeo. You can find that on our YouTube channel as well. This game, I was the lone person to pick the Bills to win, and the other two picked it as a loss. So we kind of, as a group, chalked it up as a loss, kind of majority rules there. But yeah, I think so. Hey guys, check out the Big Tree Inn this week if you're at the game. I'll be there with the Monster Energy tent, handing out Monster Energy drinks. I got a couple new toys to play with, so try to do some interviews with y'all if you're around. Come up and see me. Would love to talk before the game. We'll get some clips out, and check out Water Buffalo Club 716, who has some great new merch out there and things like that. You can get one of these hats or some chains or different things. They got some earrings now, and they got a new plastic duck with the Water Buffalo hat on. So if you got a Jeep, you want to come out and get the duck there for that. Just come out and check that out. 97 Rocks also going to be in there, and a couple other folks that are there every year. And I apologize, their names are escaping me at this point, but I think it'll be a good time. Everyone has a great time in that lot. So park elsewhere, but walk on down to the Big Tree, say hello, grab some Monster Energy, and we'll see you then. Anything else you have for tonight there, Ben?
just enjoy some football being back, and whether you're at the game, at home, halfway across the world, whatever you're doing when you're watching the game, just enjoy it. Sit back. We're in a great era of this team, even though they have not won a Super Bowl. You got to be able to appreciate it, and so just enjoy it. Watch these new guys, see what they can do, and hopefully watch Bills win on Sunday.
Indeed. With that, we are the Triple Coverage Podcast. I'm Lance Nelson. He's Ben Shoop. Go Bills.
Go Bills.